What in the background? Sorry.
Can you hear the grass being cut in the background?
I could for a second. It's gone now.
Okay, hopefully it stays gone. But it is a gorgeous day. Summer's coming to an end, but people are still cutting their grass, and we're here to talk football. Like that's what we do. So, welcome back to an episode of Real Talk. Jeff here, Brad. What's going on, dude?
Not a whole lot. Just second day. Enjoyed off at home in between my golf trip and my camping trip. Head out in the morning. Another week long of shenanigans.
Yeah, we yesterday we dropped an AFC South. So you got your Jags, Colts, Titans, Texans. And it's been out for one day. I got a couple of positive feedbacks already. I'm not sure if you did, but we'll see how that episode goes. I do think that we did it justice for what people widely consider to be a quote unquote bad division. But we're going to talk football regardless, whether they're bad, good, indifferent. This division today, AFC West, it was one of those that was kind of highly touted last year. I don't think it's not highly touted. I just don't think it's the hype division coming into this year. But ultimately, I'm pretty excited. What do you think about the AFC South yesterday? What do you think about the AFC West today?
AFC South was tremendous division, I think, in terms of I think it's more equal than people think. But I do think a lot of the teams are bottom tier. And this one is, you kind of have the Raiders, who people have written off for a long time, the Chiefs, who have been to 5 straight AFC championship games, and 2 teams in between that they're going to be.
Pretty good description, honestly. I don't have any way to argue it. I, for whatever reason, wanted to kind of proclamate that the Chiefs were going to be bad last year and that the Raiders would win the division, and Raiders were bad and Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, here we are making predictions, but I'm going to try and forget about that one. Well, AFC West, you got Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. We're going to start her off, worst division to first, and we got a lot to go over. So, you ready?
Let's do it.
Broncos finished dead last in the division last year. Record of 5-12. Their divisional record was 1-5. They did not wait till the end of the season to fire Nathaniel Hackett. They had seen enough, and frankly, so did we as consumers, as fans. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett's a really good coordinator, just not head coach material. The Broncos were bought towards the end of last season, and they're owned by the people of Walmart, and they wanted to spend big, and they wanted to get a home run splash. They, obviously Russell Wilson was required right before they got there, but after that, they needed that head coach. They went out and they interviewed Jim Harbaugh. They interviewed Sean Payton. I thought there was another decent name too that potentially interviewed, but regardless, it came down to those two, and they end up going with Sean Payton. I think it's a perfect fit, but I'll let you take the ad drops away or comment on Sean Payton, whatever you want to do here.
We'll just go straight into the ad drops. People know what Sean Payton is. They add quarterback Jared Stidham, running back Tony Jones. They add fullback Mike Burton, wide receiver from the Saints Marquez Callaway, a tight end, big tackle Mike McGlinchey, big guard Ben Powers, a center Kyle Fuller, and I had Zach Allen, Frank Clark, and they have a punter Riley Dixon. In the draft to speak about, they got Marvin Mims, wide receiver, linebacker Drew Sanders, I believe out of Arkansas, and cornerback Riley Moss. Players leaving the team: Latavius Murray, Chase Edmonds, Andrew Beck, Eric Salbert, I believe he said his name. They lost 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center, including Graham Glasnow. Defensive tackles, outside linebacker Ronald Darby, and kicker Brandon McManus. So a lot of departures, a lot of guys getting moved out. A lot of guys on the offensive line being brought in. That's all there is really to say about that. We know Jared Stidham was at the Raiders, moves in division, follows Sean Payton. There's talks that maybe, Russell's on a short leash. What do you think about all that? Do you think Russell will be on a short leash? Do you think he makes it the whole year? What do you think?
He could be on a short leash. I think he'll be much improved. So, therefore, I think the leash it may start small. I think it gets increasingly bigger as he returns to franchise quarterback form. Am I saying he returns to MVP / Super Bowl winner immediately? No, I'm not insinuating that. I just think that how we viewed Russell Wilson 2 years ago and how we view Russell Wilson now, he'll be somewhere in the middle, potentially more so to what we used to view him as. I don't think how we currently view him is accurate. I don't think that's a good depiction of him at all. I can't
Yeah.
I can't fathom that being accurate.
The big story, obviously, is Russell's play last year and how bad Nathaniel Hackett was, the firing, and now they go to Sean Payton, Hall of Fame head coach. This team, I don't know how many wins you want to value Sean Payton for, but this team lost 9 games by 1 possession, 3 of them in overtime, and 5 games by a total of 3 or less points. So remember, this team would have been 11-6 if they scored 20 points in every game. That's kind of shocking. Like, it's really what the defense was able to do was part of the story. But they move off their defensive coordinator and they lose Bradley Chubb. Now, maybe you could say teams ran against them because they were up often, but this team only had more sacks than 8 NFL teams. They were only, they were 9th to the bottom in sacks. So it's a little like this defensive dynamic of how good they were, yet they didn't really get to the quarterback. So we all know about their secondary. Justin Jefferson, Kareem Jackson, and PS2 out there, one of the best lockdown corners. So it's always an interesting dynamic when you can pack the box a little more and leave guys out there in the secondary who are good. But I'll be honest, I don't really love this team. The last 2 years they've been hit by the injury bug, maybe even 3 years. It's already starting again this year. So is this just a product of them? Is this a product of how they run their practices? I don't know. But I just think this team lacks the playmakers to really scare you. They have a whole new offensive line, but I don't know if that means it's going to be better. They get Javonte Williams back at running back, Samaje Perine from the Bengals. But I don't know if you really believe Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are the answers on the perimeter. I mean, is that any better than Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce from our last podcast? I don't know. I'm asking.
Yes, Brad. It's a lot better.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with the amount of injuries that they've had.
ACLs, okay. Knees. Whoa. I wasn't talking about health. I'm talking about just straight up when they line up on the field, what am I getting?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm wondering. I mean, how much are they going to be at their best? I mean, it was 2 years ago, Cortland Sutton leaves for an entire year. Last year, Jerry Jeudy goes down with the leg. Just
to be fair, so Pittman, I looked at his stats last night, 99 catches for 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. I almost got that with Sutton on 64 catches. So I got 64 catches, 829, and 2 touchdowns. So 2 less touchdowns on 30 less catches and only 100 less yards. But that's one receiver. That's not counting Jerry Jeudy, who I know wasn't super productive last year, but he had more yards on less catches and more touchdowns. He's better than Michael Pittman. Period.
I guess we'll get to it this year or later, maybe in another podcast here. But I just wonder if either of these guys would crack your top 16 receiver list. So
spoiler, they don't. But neither does Pittman.
Okay. Well, right. I'm not saying that these guys aren't necessarily better, and I don't want to run this into the ground. I'm just saying Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, does that really scare you as a defensive coordinator?
No, and
if it does, Javon. So I just saying I don't think their playmakers are really all that scary, and I think their defense is not as good as it was last year.
Yeah, let me jump in quick. So I think we mostly agree on the wide receivers. I think they're Bs. But here's the biggest problem. I think they had another B in Tim Patrick, who tore his Achilles like 2 weeks ago. Okay, so right before we did this pod, unfortunately, he's out. And then there's a situation with KJ Hamler where they just need to release him because of a medical situation. Talk to a Broncos fan, and shout out Jamie Lado. I'm sure he's going to listen to this pod. He told me that he thought Hamler was a cut candidate. regardless, I don't think Marvin Mims Jr. was supposed to be your third wide receiver coming into this season. You know what I mean? Like they wanted Tim Patrick back. They wanted to upgrade. But the weird thing is this team all off season was trying to trade Judy and Sutton, each of them. They wanted a first round pick. They wanted one or the other to be dealt, and nobody would bite because neither of them are worth a first round pick. Neither of them are 1,000-yard receivers. Do I think they could be in this style offense for Sean Payton? I do. But they still lack at wide receiver 3/4. They still lack at tight end. I think the quarterback's good. I think the running back's good. And I think they have solid wide receivers. But don't sit here and beat the drum that New England's wide receivers suck and then tell me the Broncos don't. So it's one of those. If you like B receivers, that's what the Broncos have. Agree?
Yeah. And Marquez Callaway, I mean, 2 years ago, he did some good things for the Saints. Last year, he was pretty much non-existent. He only had 16 catches last year, didn't really play. So you're right. The 3 and 4 receivers, you look at a guy who's kind of like, been in the league but hasn't done nothing. I just, a lot of this will really depend, you listening. A lot of this will depend on if you're going to lean into the narrative that Russ was part of the problem, or if you think it was Hackett and the offense and things like that. Your belief in Russ will really dictate, because if you're like, well, Nathaniel Hackett out and them dialing back what Russ is going to have to do in the new system with Sean Payton, this team can be a lot more improved. I think this team, their floor, I haven't done their schedule. We know it's going to be tough, but I think their floor is probably around 7 wins. And they're around 11. I think they're going to be a middle wild card searching team. I do think Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers are good additions on the O-line, but going to the defense, you take away Bradley Chubb and you try and replace him with Frank Clark. I like Bradley Chubb more, but Frank Clark's a good player. Honestly, outside of Josie Jewell out of Iowa, maybe Randy Gregory, that's a name that you might know. So they've got a few guys on the defensive interior, but it all starts with that secondary: Patrick Surtain, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. But changing defensive coordinators to Vance Joseph, I believe, is coming in. I don't know. I just think that's a decline. I expect this defense to regress, the offense to improve, and then somehow find their way back to just a slightly better record. I don't know how much I believe in the Broncos to be a great team.
Vance Joseph is a very good defensive coordinator. The weird thing is, and I think I pointed that out once, he used to head coach this team, which is always kind of a weird dynamic. I think this defense actually has a lot of really good pieces. Frank Clark, as you just alluded to, and Randy Gregory, those are going to be pretty much their down rushers, right? Alex Singleton had 100 tackles last year. I mean, he's a dog, okay? And then, as you alluded to, PS2, Patrick Surtain II, arguably the best corner in the league, top 3, right? Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, the free safety. They got a squad here. I think there's pieces to succeed. I don't think this is a Super Bowl team, but I do think week in and week out they're going to have a coaching advantage. I think they're going to take care of the football. They're going to be schemed up, and this defense isn't going to take a step back. I think they're going to be really good again.
Okay.
I'm ready for the schedule. I like this team. I'm not high on them. Like, I think they're winning 12, 13, 14 games, but I think they're not a 6-win team anymore, 5-win team.
Oh, let's run it. We'll see. I mean, the schedule, we'll see how it shakes out. They start off and they host the Las Vegas Raiders. I like early games for Denver in Colorado and the altitude. I think that's their best time to get a big advantage in a game. Starting off in division, hosting the Raiders, I like them to get a win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I got the Broncos winning week 1. Sean Payton with an off season to prepare for Jimmy Garoppolo, Devontae Adams. Yeah, I like that.
Week 2, they go back-to-back home games and they invite the Washington Commanders into town. I like them to get 2.
They're feeling themselves after 2 weeks.
All right, schedule from now until the bye, really difficult. So they are going to travel down to the Miami Heat week 3. Tyreek Hill, Patrick Surtain, or Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
He may just whoever comes over, but I like the Dolphins to win.
Yeah, I still think Tua is healthy at this point. This is a really fun game. Broncos are super physical, but I think the Dolphins have a very defensive prowess that nobody's talking about. I can't wait to talk about them. Loss 2-1.
They followed up with a back-to-back road spot, and they go to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I like the Bears. We talked about them. I have them improving, but I think the Broncos are better today. I'm taking the Broncos.
I'll give it to the Broncos there. So I have them at 3-1. What say you?
Same.
Okay. They then go back home in a very fun game. Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett return to Denver. Well, Nathaniel Hackett returns to Denver with Aaron Rodgers, Sean Payton, Week 5, Sunday 5. I was hoping this would be a night game, but Broncos host the New York Jets.
Yeah, I seen the current Sunday night game is the Cowboys and Niners. That ain't getting flexed out. This is just gonna have to deal with where this game's slotted at. Great game.
I like the Jets. It is a great game. I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, you can't. Where's the game at?
It's in Denver.
I'm gonna take Denver.
Okay. They then have a short week Thursday night at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, short week, traveling on the road.
Last time they beat the Chiefs was 2013.
Yeah, they're 1000% beating them this year, but this doesn't feel like the game after just having to basically play an early Super Bowl of sorts just for the trash talking factor and playing your former head coach. Kind of a big game, and then to have to go on the road. This spells a loss. I'm kicking the Chiefs.
Okay. They then host the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they're beating the Packers. You give them 5-2.
I'm at 3-4.
You got the Packers here?
Mm-hmm. Because I also think it's a sandwich spot. They play the Chiefs, the Packers, and then the Chiefs again. So now they have the home where I do think they beat the Chiefs the second time.
Yeah, I got them beating the Chiefs too. Which, fun fact, this is in Denver?
It's in Denver, yeah.
So we both just said that we believe Patrick Mahomes will lose his first ever road game against the AFC West.
Yep.
It's bound to happen.
It is. So they then have their bye week. They come off their and they play Monday Night Football at Buffalo. Now, I will say this. While they're on their bye, Buffalo plays the Bengals. Very big emotional spot for that game. DeMar Hamlin, the playoffs and all that. Also, the week after Denver, the Bills play the Jets in a massive divisional game. So they have the Broncos sandwiched in between the Bengals and Jets. So it's a tough one, but, I mean, Monday night, the Bills getting 8 days of rest at Buffalo. I like the Bills to take this game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills too. And it's a tough game.
They then Sunday night host Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings.
Jefferson. You just said it.
Justin Jefferson versus Patrick Surtain on Monday night. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'll take the Broncos there to make them 7-3.
I have them 5-5. They then host the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to take the Broncos here.
This feels actually like a loss. I just think that Cleveland, with their pass rush, being able to run the ball. Give me Cleveland here.
They then go in December on a 3-game road stretch where historically teams have a really tough time winning the third one. But a 3-game road stretch where they travel the entire country. They go at the Houston Texans, December 3rd.
That's a win.
I like the Broncos. They are then at the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm gonna give them a loss here.
They then go all the way to Detroit Lions in Detroit.
I like them to
Have that
beat
as a loss.
Detroit.
They then come back home to Thursday night football on Sunday, December 24th. So Sunday night football. New England Patriots go to Denver.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for New England, man. They've historically struggled in Denver. Yeah, I'll take. Man, Russell Wilson has a great record against New England too. I'll take Denver.
I'm going to take New England. They then host the Chargers.
They're dropping 2 straight to the Chargers, especially at this point in the season. Chargers, I just think, are better.
I'm going to have them beat the Chargers here. And then they finish their last game at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Another win. Yeah, I just popped them at 11 wins.
So you got them at what? Let me go over to my.
I gave them too many wins. I don't think they're 11-win team.
So you got them 11-6 though.
Yeah,
11-6. I have them at 9-8. All right, Jeff. What's their over under?
9.5.
It is 8.5.
Ugh. I can't be that high.
So I have them over their win total. You have them 2 wins, 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't love it though. I don't know.
You think you gave them too many wins early in their first 8?
No, because to be honest, I feel great about the early ones.
I think they're losing to Detroit. The 3rd straight road game, and they're in Detroit, non-conference road spot. Big game versus the Chargers. I think that's where you could switch it. 3rd straight road game against Detroit.
If this was a bad coach, sure. This is Sean Payton in a dome. I don't know. I think Sean Payton's worth a couple of wins here. That's one of the reasons I'm okay with where I'm at. This is solely based off Russell Wilson returning to form here.
They are plus 600 to win the division. So if you have them at 11-6, maybe something you should think about.
Well, we'll take a look at where everyone else is at, I guess.
Well, I think you had them sweeping the Raiders. You had them sweeping the Chargers and splitting with the Chiefs to go 5-1 in division.
I had them sweeping the Raiders, getting swept by the Chargers, and going 1-1.
Oh, so 3-3 in division. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Ready for the next team?
Yeah, I think I am.
All right, it's Raider time. Raider Nation. The Las Vegas Raiders finished up last year 6-11, 3-3 in division. Lost 3 in a row to end the season. Unfortunately, missed the playoffs because of that. Take it away.
Yeah, so lots of ads here. Jimmy Garoppolo, probably the most notable right up the bat. Quarterback Jimmy G reunites with McDaniels. Quarterback Brian Hoyer. Myers, DeAndre Carter, Phillip Dorsett, Cam Sims, all at wide receiver. Tight end Austin Hooper, big pickup. Guard Greg Van Roten, don't know him. John Jenkins, D-tackle Robert Spillane's former Steeler middle linebacker. Cornerback Duke Shelby, Brandon, don't know how to say his last name. Big pickup at safety, longtime starter for the Eagles, Marcus Epps, and another safety, David Long. Through the draft in the first round, they take Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech D, along with Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. They get a D-tackle, receiver, corner, quarterback Aiden O'Connell, and safety Christopher Smith. So they add a lot. Their departures, Jared Stidham, again, they picked up 3 different quarterbacks. Wide receiver Mac Hollins, again, they picked up like 4 receivers. They do lose Darren Waller and Foster Moreau. I don't know how to say Moreau, maybe is how you say his name.
Moreau. Yeah.
But they lose two tight ends, one who's viewed as a top in the league, but they do get Austin Hooper. They lose a tackle, an outside linebacker, DN Cleveland Farrell. Remember him? Didn't take it from Clemson in the first round. Andrew Billings, Denzel Perriman, linebacker, quarterback Rocky Sin, cornerback Sidney Jones, and safety Deron Harmon. So they lose a lot and gain a lot. A lot of roster changes here for the Las Vegas Raiders. A team that was not top 10 in any statistic in terms of yards last year. They were 14th in touchdowns on offense, 11th most passing yards, 17th most rushing yards. On defense, 29th in passing yards and 19th in rushing yards. So, team that was in the bottom half of a lot of statistics.
Did you happen to mention as an ad Marcus Peters?
I did not. He just came like last week, didn't he? Corner. Yep.
Yeah. I figured that was notable. I mean, he has been one of the top corners in this league for a little while. Did you mention David Long Jr.? He played a solid role on that Rams Super Bowl team. I don't remember if this is his first year or second year. I'm just looking over the depth chart trying to see where they have impact players at. Looking over this offense, I think it's very good. I think it's really good. Offensive line has question marks, but as far as just offense, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than most people have given him credit for. I've always been kind of a pro Jimmy G guy. Jacobs led the league in rushing, even though I'm not a huge Jacobs guy. Devontae Adams, top. I'll tell you later as far as how great of a receiver he is. I've always liked Renfro, but to be honest, he's kind of fallen off. Jacoby Myers comes over from New England big time. Austin Hooper feels like a solid tight end for this group. They got the pass rushers in Crosby and Jones. I don't know. I think this is. I don't see them being horrible. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has literally won like 70% of his games in his career. And I know a lot of that's for the Niners, and I think, you know, I don't know.
It is really tough because I think their coach is absolutely, I just think he's really bad. But at the same time, I look at this roster, and it's like, defensively, they have the pass rushers, and they have a few good, especially adding Marcus Peters and Marcus Epps to Drayvon Moharrig, their first-round safety from, I think, 2 years ago from TCU. But I don't like their linebackers, and the interior D-line seems a little weak. Again, Max Crosby is a monster. Chandler Jones, they draft Tyree Wilson. They have 3 really good pass rushers. And offensively, I only get worried that their quarterbacks have no mobility, and I do think this is a bottom 5 offensive line. It's something that did last year. We had Dan, shout out Dan on the podcast for this breakdown, and I've always been a Jimmy G supporter more than most people I talk to. Josh Jacobs and some of their backups are named Zamir White, Mir Abdullah. They're not the greatest guys, but you've at least heard of them. They do okay. Devontae Adams, Myers Renfro, and if you even go down a little bit further to Keelan Cole Sr., like these are all guys who can play. And not just Austin Hooper, but Michael Mayer, who is an absolute Notre Dame for a couple years. I love their pieces. I just wonder with their offensive line if their quarterbacks are going to be able to overcome that. We're going to find out, but I did notice that when I was reading over this roster, I kept thinking more and more like, I thought this team was awful. How are these guys on the team and they're awful? Like, I know they have some new stuff, but it just does really seem hard to look at this team and be like, yeah, they're definitely the Williams sweepstakes. Like, this team could win 8 games, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, 6 last year. I mean, they underachieved. Let's say this. Let me just ask you this question. I think this is a completely fair question. Did they upgrade at quarterback? Yes or no?
No.
Did they downgrade at quarterback?
No.
They just stayed the same.
I think they're in the same pocket of.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah. Well,
And
As of
if I
right now,
had to
Josh
lean one
Jacobs
way,
isn't even under roster, or he's not under contract yet.
if I had to lean one way, like I couldn't say they're in the same pocket, I would say Derek Carr is the better quarterback. But I could see that there's you could pull that would take Jimmy G. I just know a lot of people do go to his win percentage, and he played during the Patriots dynasty, and then for the 49ers, whose roster we have. Now, he did win a lot of games, but there's just been so much talk of the teams he's been on winning in spite of him. I've tried to defend him in that aspect because he doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He's good with his reads, but I think I'd take Derek Carr over Jimmy G.
Yeah, the one thing that I've always struggled with when you take over a new team, like Josh McDaniels did, and you just continuously bring in the same set of guys that you used to coach. Let me give you just like real quick, just off the top of my head, former Patriots. You ready? Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Philip Dorsett, Jacoby Myers, Jacoby Johnson, Justin Herron, Jermaine Almenire, I think that's his name.
Jermaine, it looks like, but either way.
Yeah, he was a Patriot. Okay. Then go to that's just the offense. That's just the offense. Yeah. Go to the defense. Adam Butler, defensive tackle. I think that's it. But like you said, Duron Harmon left. He was on the team. That's a shit ton of Patriots.
You said like 6 or 7 names. How many of those guys were when McDaniels got there? I don't think any. Like these are all guys he's brought in.
All new. Yeah. Yeah, all new. And that's just like at some point you kind of have to stray away from those guys, especially when if I were to go back to those same guys and tell you how many actually had Super Bowl titles, it'd be very few. Like, it's not like these guys are cornerstone pieces to that dynasty. You just got to move on from that at this point. Like, you have to start building this roster. And I do think, for the most part, as soon as he got there, he obviously went out and got Devontae Adams, which is huge. I didn't even mention Chandler Jones, former Patriot, too. This Marcus Peters signing I like here, that he just recently got. But ultimately, like, this team is made up of a lot of Patriots, and it's just like there's a reason you're struggling, and there's a reason people look down upon you because you bring in all these guys and then they don't pan out. That's why these Raiders fans get so fucking fed up because they just want to win. And you bringing in this culture when they were winning the Raider way, if you will, like they had their homegrown guys and they had Gruden. All of a sudden Gruden leaves. They have this interim head coach that wins. They fire him for McDaniels. And then he brings in a bunch of Patriots and they suck. It's just, I understand the frustration. And then Derek Carr, who some of them liked, some of them didn't. You bring in Jimmy G, a former Patriot again.
I know that I also, I just want to look, and Pro Football Focus has the Raiders O-line at 19th. And it says that their middle, so guard, center, guard, were PFF'd at 56. That was their grade, which is pretty middle of the road to bad. And they're only making them improve because they said all 3 are returning. So the cohesion of the O-line is what they're banking on is going to make them better, not that the players could actually play. So it's an interesting dynamic here with the Raiders because I don't have any reason to dislike them. I don't have any reason to really like them. It just, the Steelers played them last time on the last throw of the game pretty much type thing, final minute and a half. So I don't know, this team doesn't just you think about the game against the Patriots that they lost, where that giant backwards throw. Or wait, no, they won that game, didn't they?
Yeah, they won the game.
But even still, I just they won 2 games in overtime and then 1 game on the last play of the game versus the Patriots. That was 3 of their last 4 wins on the season. The other ones, they beat Denver, who was awful last year. They beat the Houston Texans. Actually, they beat Denver twice. 2 of their wins.
They beat the Seahawks in overtime on 1 carry. Straight out, it was 80 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Jacobs
had 229. That was his massive fantasy football performance.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't know. But you look at the other games, they lost by 1 point, lost by 3 points, lost in overtime by 3. lost by 5, lost by 7, lost by 1 against the Chiefs, lost by 2 against the Titans, lost in overtime to the Cardinals. We all remember that massive comeback. Kyler Murray running around for 38 minutes. They lost by 5 to the Chargers. Like you talk about the one possession games for the Broncos. These Raiders were in a bunch of nail biters all year. So, I mean, they were 4-0 in the preseason last year. I don't know if that matters at all, but
take this for what you will. Heard this on Colin's show, The Herd. He asked an anonymous person that he wouldn't give. Didn't say if it was a coach or a player or a scout or whatever. They said, "Do you miss Derek Carr?" And this person said, "It was ready to move on." So whatever that means, like it sounds like that was kind of like the motion of the room. You know, this past offseason, I also listened to Max Crosby on Bussin' with the Boys. And this is even before Brady retired. And he was kind of asked, like, all right, now that Derek's for sure, like Derek hadn't been traded yet, nothing, just Derek had been benched, right? And they asked him, they're like, it's pretty simple, like Derek's going to move on. Who do you want? And he wasn't even like, Derek's my quarterback until he's not. He was like, I'd love Tom Brady. Like, he was ready. Like, all these people are, you hear these Raiders talking. Devontae Adams rumors that he wants to go to the Jets. Who knows how real that is? I doubt the money even works there. But it's just like, it doesn't really sound like any of these guys are like hurt that Derek Carr is gone. It sounds like he was a bro, but that's it.
I also, we're going to get to it in a minute, but I just brought up the schedule and looked at it like, I was talking about this team. I was so ready to be like, let's get them to 8 wins. Let's get them to 8-9 wins. Them and the Broncos. I think this division's going to be better than people think. I wonder if I'll get them to 4. This schedule is absolutely brutal.
It sure is.
You ready to get to it?
Let's hit it.
So they're going to start out at Denver.
Yeah, I took Denver, so it's going to give them a loss there.
Okay. They follow that up by then traveling to the Buffalo Bills.
It's a loss.
They then come home for their home opener Sunday night versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Interesting dynamic. The Steelers, you think their O-line, some people think it's weak or the weaker part of their team. You have monster pass rushers for the Raiders. It's a game that went down to the wire last year. It all depends on if you feel which team got better. But this is a 13-10 game.
I'm gonna take the Raiders here at home. They're 0-2. They need this game here. I'm giving it to the Raiders.
Spoiler alert, guys. Steelers are winning a lot of games for me. Can't wait for 2 weeks. They then leave Las Vegas again. By the way, now that it's in Vegas, that'll pretty much be a home game for the Steelers. I think there'll be more Steelers fans than Raiders fans in Vegas instead of Oakland, my opinion. But they then travel away to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Give me the Raiders. Chargers defense has not been good. It has not been good. It needs to improve. I think this is just a shootout, and Raiders win it.
Okay. They cut 2-2 for you, 0-4 for me.
Yep.
They then come back home for their second home game of the year, Monday night versus the Green Bay Packers.
They'll beat the Packers. They moved to 3-2.
Could see them getting their first win here. But I'm making them 0-5. They then stay home Sunday night, not Sunday night, but just Sunday, short week against the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick is not losing to Josh McDaniels.
Short week and they're at home. We got embarrassed last time we were there. Last time we played Jimmy G, it did not go well. Man. McDaniels is 2-0 against New England, man. Jimmy Garoppolo has played well against. I think the Raiders win this.
losses.
I want to give the Patriots the win there. I'm just trying to be fair.
Well, yeah, what I'm going to go is I'm going to go back here a little bit, and I'm going to say their home game versus the Packers and Patriots. I don't know which one. They'll get one of them. That's what I'll put. They're going to get one of them. I don't know which one. They then go on the road to the Chicago Bears. I think they can beat the Bears.
Yeah. Again, and 5-2 doesn't feel right for them, but I got them at 5-2.
I have them at 2-5. They're then on the road back-to-back where they go to the Detroit Lions for Monday Night Football.
They're going to lose that.
I agree. They then host the New York Giants.
They're going to beat the Giants.
Darren Waller returns. I also think it's in play at this time of the year now that Jimmy G might not be playing.
I was literally just thinking that. I'm not joking you. Literally was just thinking that.
I'm Giants. And the biggest problem, I'm just going to rattle off these next three for you. After hosting the Giants, they host the Jets. Then they're at the Dolphins, then host the Chiefs.
They're going to start getting some losses here. Just like that, I got them moving to 6-6.
So I have them beating either Green Bay or New England in a home beating Chicago. I have them losing every other game. I have them at 2-9. It would be 2-10. This has been 12 games. They're better than 2-10.
They 1,000% are.
But if Brian Hoyer's playing, they potentially traded Devontae Adams and they go all in for Caleb Williams. Because I think that's the play. I'm buying into that. I may be wrong. I know Raiders fans listening are burying them. I don't think they're this. I don't think they're a 2-win team, but this is a tough schedule. I got them at 2. They hit their bye week 13. They come out of the bye week and they host the Minnesota Vikings. I like them to win that game off the bye.
What time's that game?
It is 4:05 on Fox.
Take the Vikings.
Go short week, Thursday night football. They host the Los Angeles Chargers.
Chargers get them back here. I think I have them dropping 6 in a row already.
They then go Thursday night into an extra long week. I believe it's 11 days. Their next game is Monday Night Football on Christmas. Oh, so it's actually not Monday night. It's Monday on Christmas, so it's a 1 o'clock game. They're going to stack the 3 or 4 games. Monday, Christmas, at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Whole world's going to see this one. Yeah, it's a loss.
I think they've given up at this point, but they're then at the Indianapolis Colts. I'll give them a win against the Colts.
They're beating the Colts.
And then they finish the year hosting Denver.
Loss. So I have them 7-10.
I think they could beat Denver. And I know as much as the ownership maybe wants to give up, I don't think the players do. Game. I'm gonna give them another win here against Denver at home in Vegas. I have them at 5-12.
7-10.
Let's go over.
I have them starting hot and just falling apart, as you alluded to, though. Like Jimmy Garoppolo potentially getting hurt changes a lot of things.
You have them at 7 what?
7-10.
Okay. What is their over/under?
7.5.
No.
6.5.
Yep, 6.5. So me at 5-12, I'm only 1 game lower than where Vegas has them. It's not like I'm just burying them.
Yeah. think I want to customize my Broncos to 10-7 instead of 11-6.
You want them at 10-7?
No, just leave the 11-6 for now.
All right.
All right. You ready for this next team?
Yes, I think so.
LA Chargers finished the year 10-7 last year. Okay. 2-4 in division, so not great. But they did make the playoffs with Justin Herbert, which is kind of what everybody's been saying they were unable to do. They needed to make the playoffs. Well, they did.
And then they got there.
Unfortunately, they got there and they just decided to just mollywop the Jaguars, picked off Trevor Lawrence 4 times, and then gave up a monster upset. Come from behind victory to the Jags. In the offseason, they fired their offensive coordinator and they bring in offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, Kellen Moore. I thought that was notable. Take the rest away.
Yeah, so let me click on it real quick. I didn't have it up yet. Okay. So for ads, I mean, in terms of veterans, one of the biggest one and maybe the only one is Eric Kendricks, middle linebacker. He comes in.
Pick up.
They draft Quentin Johnston out of TCU, wide receiver. D-end, Tuli Tupelapalipalado, or however you say his name. Linebacker, Deion Henderson. I mean, a lot of these next 2 or 3 guys, late round draft picks, see what happens. Their losses, they lose DeAndre Carter, receiver, tackle Storm Norton, guard Matt Filer, kind of rotational guys. Christian Covington. They lose linebacker Kyle Van Noy, which is low-key big. Linebacker Drew Tranquil, cornerback Bryce Callahan, and safety Nasir Adley. The biggest problem with this team, and we'll see if they addressed it with maybe Eric Kendricks and their O-line getting they lost Rashawn Slater last year and a few other O-linemen. But this team offensively was 30th in rushing yards and defensively was 28th against the run. So that's why you can't – that's why the Chargers are always susceptible to giving up big leads because they can't stop the run when they get down and they can't run the ball when they're up. So it's all on Justin Herbert's arm, which I know we're on the same page that he is tremendous. Other people will say he's overrated or he gets talked about too much. We are one of the people who would talk about him too much. He is fantastic. So, yeah, how do you feel about this team?
One more news and note. They did just make Justin Herbert, 2 weeks ago, the highest paid player in all of football. And until Joe Burrow gets some kind of contract, he will stay the highest paid player in all of football on a annual basis. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of question marks as far as just what we're getting with this team. They have all the potential. This is a Super Bowl roster. I think we've thought that for the last 2 years. The roster isn't the issue. It's just the little nuances. Currently, Austin Eckler wanting a long-term deal, and he's not getting one, even though he's giving you the production. At least fantasy owners will tell you he's giving you the production of another running back in the league. They go out and get Quentin Johnson, who had a great year for TCU, tore up Michigan in the bowl game, and he's their third receiver. You have to feel great about that. Keenan Allen is starting to get towards the back end of this life in the NFL. He's still productive when he's out there. Mike Williams obviously has been productive. Joey Bosa needs to stay on the field, but when he's out there, he's productive. Kendricks brings a ton of leadership and
know-how. Been there, done that.
Yeah, to this roster. And then again, the Khalil Mack, obviously a household name. This secondary on paper, filth. But J.C. Jackson got there and immediately got hurt. Now we need to see him out there again. Asante Samuels Jr., productive. Derwin James, first 2 years in the league, can't stay on the field last year, very productive. So it's like we need to see it all put together. And now you go out and get Kellen Moore, who I think a lot of people are saying Cowboys shouldn't have let him go. I think this makes the Chargers better. The left side of this offensive line is absolutely boss. Slater, Johnson.
Center to left tackle. Yeah.
It's filth. It's just filth. I like this team a lot.
Yeah,
but there will be head coach. There'll be one more thing. There will be head coach things throughout this whole year where we will have a pod on Tuesday or Wednesday where we're like scratching our heads at some of the stupid shit that what's his face does. I can't think of his name
Brandon
right now.
Staley.
Thank you. You know we're gonna be arguing over like Brandon Staley doing some stupid shit for this team, and it's like if Sean Payton was the coach of this team, I think we'd both be talking about them as the favorites to win the Super Bowl. That's how I just think they're that away.
I also think that, bringing in Kellen Moore is a double boost because Brandon Staley made his niche as the defensive coordinator for the Rams. So Brandon Staley gets to come over and focus now solely on defense and hand the offense to Kellen Moore, who knows how to a quarterback. And I mean, I bet you he's elated to see that the decrease in interceptions going from Dak to Justin Herbert and the ability to throw and the receivers that they have. There was a lot of dink and dunk out of this offense. I mean, Austin Eckler had 107 catches last year. So you look at Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston. Even if you think Quentin Johnston, I mean, me personally, I don't think that he is going to be an elite first-round guy. But when you're drafted in the first round and you're the third receiver on your team, there's going to be, I mean, you're playing against corners you were eating in college half the time. Justin Herbert is a dog. The O-line is there. The tight ends, wide receiver, running back, quarterback. They have a pass rush. They have a back end. They have two good middle linebackers. I mean, this is the year that the Chargers could potentially compete to win in the division over the Chiefs. We'll get to them in a minute, but the Chargers, I do hear a lot of stuff, or not a lot, but I did hear a reference earlier where it was, they said the Chargers are a lot like Texas. They always get talked about. They always have a good roster, but then, they're 8-4 or they lose 5 games. So there's always questions. The Chargers don't have a true home field advantage as to where at least the two other teams, Broncos and Chiefs, definitely do. So it'll be interesting in that scenario. They also mentioned they did pick up Max Duggan as their third string quarterback, and he did play with Quentin Johnston, so maybe there could be a fun story there, but obviously it's Herbert's team that would take injury. Me and Jeff have, on every podcast, we've pretty much been lockstep. They drafted Justin Herbert our first year, and we've loved the Chargers ever since. We've loved Justin Herbert, so I don't know if there's going to be much disagreement. Maybe some of you guys are thinking about some stuff while you're listening. Yeah, but the Chargers, this or that. Basically, Jeff mentioned the only thing. It's head scratchers by coaching decisions, and that's the only thing that's held this team back.
If I had to heart, to use Facebook terms, heart or like how many pieces on their defense I like, I'm at like 7 out of 11. And on offense, I'm at 9. There's a lot to like here. Like, I'm liking everything. You know what I mean? So here we are. Hit through the schedule. Let's run it.
All right, week 1, they make the Dolphins travel cross country to LA.
What time's that game?
4:25 CBS, Sunday, September 10th.
That's a banger to start the year.
Yeah, and Miami's going to win a lot of games, but they have to lose some too. They're not going 17-0. I think they drop to the Chargers here.
Yeah,
Chargers team fully healthy. Bosa, Mack out there. Derwin James still out there. Both corners are still out there. That'll be a great game.
I like the Dolphins in this spot.
That's okay. If the Dolphins won this game, I'm not going to be shocked.
I just think both teams fully healthy. Dolphins feel faster and better and more complete defensively week 1. That's where I'm leaning.
Even without
Yes.
Jalen Ramsey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. We're already disagreeing. Jeff's totally wrong, but I'll keep going.
Love it. Let's go.
Week 2 at the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, sorry, Titans. Chargers.
Week 3 back-to-back road spot at the Minnesota Vikings.
What time's that game?
1 o'clock Fox.
Loss.
You guys I'm low on the Vikings, though, this year, so I got them winning. They are then week 4. They go back home and host the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, they're beating the Raiders. Or no.
Okay.
Didn't I just have the Raiders winning that game? Yeah, it was a must-win, right?
If
I
we
don't
go
remember.
back, yeah, they were at Denver, at Buffalo. You had loss. You had them beating Pittsburgh at home and then traveling to Los Angeles and losing. I think you had them 1-3.
Yeah, 1-3. Yeah, there. So yeah, I have the Chargers winning.
So I have them at 4-0. 4-0 as they hit their bye week in week 5.
That sucks.
They come out of the bye week with an extra long one going all the way to Monday Night Football, where we will see Kellen Moore play the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Off a bye, I like the Chargers.
Even off the bye.
Chargers. It will be kind of like a home game for Dallas, though. Dallas has a lot of fans in LA, so that's always an interesting dynamic.
Dan Quinn's been coaching against Kellen Moore's offense for 3 years, 2 years.
By the way, we're gonna see a lot of Chargers right now. So Monday night against Dallas. Next week, 4:25 at the Kansas City Chiefs. They will get their first loss.
They will take a W here. I have them at 2-3. They're not moving to 2-4. They're beating the Chiefs here.
I have them at 5-1 with their loss to the Chiefs. So, then the next Sunday Night Football, they host the Chicago Bears.
Also a win.
I think so too. So they've played it Monday night, Sunday at 4:25, then Sunday night. Now they play Monday night. So it's going to be a long week after the Bears. They get from Sunday to Monday, where they travel to the New York Jets for Monday Night Football.
Beating the Jets, moving to 5-3. They're back to winning again.
I like the Jets in this spot. He's 6-2. They then host the Detroit Lions.
Beating the Lions.
I have a win there. They're then at Green Bay.
Beating Green Bay.
I think so too. Here's a tough back-to-back stretch. They come home and host Sunday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. Give me the Ravens.
I think the Ravens are going to struggle with injuries this year. They'll be fine, but they're going to struggle with injuries throughout. Give me the Chargers at home.
Okay. They then travel to New England Patriots on December 3rd.
We're undefeated against Mr. Herbert. And him coming to New England, this feels like a spot where New England can capitalize, give him a loss.
I like a New England upset here. They then home December 10th and host the Denver Broncos. I like them to win there.
Yeah, I had them getting swept. I'm sorry, I had them sweeping the Broncos, so I'm going to stay with that.
Short week, Thursday Night Football at the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Chargers are just a better team.
I had the Raiders beating them. I'm going to give them a loss here.
Then, Saturday, December 23rd, in the first ever, I believe, Peacock exclusive game, the Chargers host the Buffalo Bills on Saturday Night Football, December 23rd. In a potential AFC Championship matchup.
Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers as well. They're then December 31st at Denver. I gave Denver a few late. I think that's one of them.
Giving them another win. I had them sweeping Denver.
And then they host the Kansas City Chiefs to end the year. I'm going to have them splitting with the Chiefs. Chiefs got them earlier.
Well, I currently have them with 11 wins, and I have the Broncos with 11 wins. You're going to need a win to win this division. I'm going to give them the W, make them 12-5 to sweep the Chiefs and win this division.
I didn't have them sweeping the Chiefs.
Still got the Chiefs coming.
I did have them. I had them at 12-5 as well. So
I have them at 5-1 in division. Their only loss was to the Raiders in a weird Thursday night game.
I had them splitting with the Chiefs, but I have them splitting with the Broncos and sweeping the Raiders. So that'd be 4-2 in division. What do you think their over/under is?
10.5.
It's 9.5.
Feels low.
Yeah, it feels low for me too. I probably would have guessed 10.5 as well.
I mean, I
Like
am
the Chiefs, though.
wondering
Like
what I'm
this-
gonna have with these Chiefs, man. Because, well,
I
You ready?
will say, yeah, let's just get into the Chiefs, I suppose.
oh, the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs. Here's what I don't like: the Kansas City Chiefs have gotten into this weird territory where you can't talk bad about them or you look like an idiot. But if you do talk bad about them because you think you're right, people laugh at you until it comes true, and then it doesn't come true.
So, to allude to your point, the thing is a lot of times you just read the roster, look at the AFC and their division, and you can come up with a lot of reasons why this team shouldn't be good. But they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And with those two and merit on them making the AFC Championship game the last 5 years, you just kind of have to understand that no matter how bad or regressed you think they'll be, on their head coach, quarterback, and tight end Travis Kelce alone, they're going to win 10 games. I just think that's where you have to be with them. There's a lot of reasons to say they could lose this game, could lose that game, and oftentimes your predictions will fall short. But Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're going to win their games.
Yeah. So last year they were 14-3, 6-0 in division, and they won the Super Bowl. There's your offseason recap.
Yeah. Also, recap. Go ahead.
That's it. That's the recap.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to say, going into this year, I mentioned this on a previous pod, but their wide receivers, Kadarius Toney, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Richie James. So those 5 receivers, which are all of their receivers. I just didn't mention Travis Kelce, who's their tight end. Total, they have 17 seasons experience, 0 seasons with 60 or more receptions, 0 seasons with 700 yards or more, and 0 seasons with 7 or more touchdowns. None of their wide receivers have accomplished any of those feats. 60 catches, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. None of them have done that in any year that they've been in the NFL. And combined, they all have 17 years experience, and that was 5 guys. So on average, they're less than 4 years in the league. Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, still running backs on here. So is Jerick McKinnon, which he's an interesting cat because he'll pop up random weeks and be the vocal point of the entire offense. And then they basically said, we got Chris Jones and company on defense. You want to get to the adds and losses?
Yeah, take it away.
So big time ad, they get quarterback Blaine Gabbert. They have wide receiver Richie James, tackle Jawan Taylor, tackle Donovan.
Blaine Gabbert beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Just throwing that out there.
They have defensive end Charles Omenihu, linebacker Drew Tranquil, and safety Mike Edwards. Their draft picks, D-line Felix Anadike Uzamoa, wide receiver Rashi Rice, offensive tackle Wanya Morris, a corner, and a defensive end. Their losses, low-key kind of big. They lose Chad Henne. He's bailed them out more than a couple times in games where
You're right.
Minor injuries. Running back, huh?
You're right.
Yeah. Against the Browns, and then last year, lots of times. Running back Ronald Jones, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, all-pro tackle Orlando Brown, another tackle Andrew Wiley, defensive end Carlos Dunlap, defensive end Frank Clark, defensive tackle Kalen Saunders, nose tackle Derek Nandi, and safety Juan Thornhill. So they lose a lot that contributed on defense and offense. Right tackle, 2 receivers, safety, couple D ends. They lose quite a bit. This is, I think, the most that I think the Chiefs roster has regressed in a long time. But they still have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So
have you happened to see the top 10 players as voted on by the players or no?
Travis Kelce got 5, Patrick Mahomes got 1.
And Chris Jones got 10. So they, according to the players, have 3 of the top 10 players in the league, and arguably the best coach, if not top 2, top 3 coach in the league. So how much are we willing to kind of allow those 3 players / coach to just completely dictate how we feel about this team? Now, there is something to this, and New England kind of had this going for it too. There is something to a player not being like Sky Moore at this point. Let's just use Sky Moore for an example. He obviously was drafted late, came on this team. He's had some reps. He's seen them win. He's seen them lose. He's seen them win a Super Bowl. There is some value to that, having that on your roster and home growing it, and all of a sudden that player pops. That does happen. Those things happen. New England had that happen. Julian Edelman's a story like that. The exact same thing happened to Julian Edelman, right? I'm not saying Sky Moore is Julian Edelman. I'm just saying that is possible for this team. But if you're asking me to judge this team's offense right now, it's not good. It's Colts territory. Now, the Colts don't have Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. Now, the Colts have Quentin Nelson. And I'm not going to downgrade this Chiefs offensive line because it's the one thing they have allowed themselves to do, and I applaud them for this. Since losing that Super Bowl to Tampa Bay when they looked embarrassed having Patrick Mahomes run for their life, they basically said, never again. Never again. Juwan Taylor, right tackle, very good. Donovan Smith, 30 years old, been in the league for a long time, good. Not very good, but good. Joe Tooney, left guard, he's all pro. He's top tier. He's like 98 in Madden. Like, let's go. Creed Humphrey, just drafted him like 2 years ago. Fantastic. Like, all pro. Let's go. Trey Smith's probably their one downfall. But when you got four great offensive linemen, you'll take one. And I don't know much about Trey Smith. Maybe he's better than I'm giving him credit for. The offensive line's great. Who are you throwing to outside Travis Kelce? This team feels less than. If Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl with this squad, dude, I have to start giving him Brady love. Like, these wide receivers are not good. They're not good. Even Chiefs fans can't be writing into the show and be like, no, these wide receivers are studs. If you want to sit here and tell me the Chiefs are going to be great this year strictly because of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, I'll listen. I will listen. But I'm going to take into consideration that there's good teams in this league that are not going to allow bad receivers to beat them.
So I guess what I say is with Andy Reid's scheme and how great I believe this O-line is, Travis Kelce clearly demands a double team, and their receivers, the slowest one runs a 4.35. So I just think that with their ability to dump off to running backs, still run the ball. Last year, I mean, they lose Juju Smith-Schuster. Mecole Hardman didn't do much. He was a speedster. But this team threw for over 5,250 yards. Only team to throw for over 5,000 yards last season. And they just lost Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, all these other guys were still playing and still doing stuff. They don't need – I just think that their east-west, their home run ability, Travis Kelce's been Travis Kelce for the past 5 years, and he still has over 1,000 yards receiving. It's different when you take like, Devontae Adams is your number one, and there's a clear 2 and 3, and the tight end's pretty decent. We'll just switch that. Travis Kelce basically is their number one receiver. When's the last time we saw a blocking highlight from Travis Kelce? That is their number one receiver. So the rest of these guys are basically 2, 3s, and 4s. Even really run a tight end in the blocking scheme. I just think that, I mean, and on defense, Chris Jones, obviously Aaron Donald's Aaron Donald, but Chris Jones has been basically locked into that 2 or 3 spot. And that's kind of they do it. This team was 8th in the league against the rush on defense. Chris Jones eats up a lot in the middle. They have good enough guys to do good things. But this defense is always – they're always younger. They're rotating guys in. They're fast, and they know they can just try to be opportunistic. Patrick Mahomes on the other side. I think this offense will still go because now Travis Kelce, there are a tweaked ankle by Travis Kelce from the it's the same thing I said with the Vikings to a degree, that they're a twisted ankle from Justin Jefferson away from not having any passing game. This team is more susceptible to that. Travis Kelce, boom, busts his knee in the 4th week. That would be crazy for the Chiefs. But why they do have Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, all this speed, time behind the O-line, 3 running backs who can all run and catch. Not that any of them are like definitively elite guys, but again, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. This team's going to win a lot of games. Definitive home field advantage.
It does make me wonder. There will be a day when Travis Kelce and Andy Reid are no longer, and how we view Patrick Mahomes at that time. Makes me wonder.
Yeah, and that will be interesting because Travis Kelce in October turns 34. So I don't know how much longer he plays or at a top level. He seems to take care of his body, seems to be doing good things. But this team gets so creative in the red zone. They turn field goals into touchdowns all the time. With the amount of depth they have at receiver, speed, I mean, any ball can be a home run ball. All these receivers can hard pass and go 60 with it. And Travis Kelce, I mean, sometimes you put 2 guys on him and it's not enough. So the Chiefs are the Chiefs till they're not the Chiefs, right?
I mean, you'd think. You would think. All right, let's hit it.
All right. We all know that they open up straight up first game of the year. Banners drop Thursday Night Football on NBC versus Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I had Kansas City. You had the Lions. You sticking with it? I'm sticking with mine.
I'm sticking with the Lions.
Okay, KC.
Then they go at Jacksonville.
Yeah, I thought that summer heat was going to be a lot for them. I have them losing 1-1.
0-2. They then host the Chicago Bears.
They're beating the Bears. Patrick Mahomes, I think, will forever beat the Bears. They didn't draft him. I think you'll remember that forever.
They're at the New York Jets.
They're beating the Jets.
I think so, too. They're then at the Minnesota Vikings.
What time is that game?
4:25.
Give me the Vikings.
I have the Chiefs. Night they host the Denver Broncos.
Didn't I have? I think I had the Chiefs winning that. We're staying with the Chiefs.
Chiefs. Then they host the Los Angeles Chargers. I had them taking the home and away here.
Yeah, I had the Chargers sweeping them, so they're losing here.
So I had the Chiefs starting 0-2, and they've rattled off 5 straight for me. Then Sunday, October 29th, they travel to Denver, where we both talked about Denver ending a couple streaks here.
Yep, I agree.
They then, on Sunday, they go to London, where they play the Miami Dolphins on Week 9.
Patrick Mahomes is going to drop under 500 for at least a minute. He's 4-5 right now.
I like the Dolphins. They then get their bye week after London, where they come out of the bye week on an extra long bye week. Monday night, they host the Super Bowl rematch versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I like the Eagles.
So do I.
Like the Eagles.
This isn't looking good.
Sunday, 4:25, they're at the Raiders. They're going to
They're beating the
Sweep
Raiders.
the Raiders. They then followed up with a back-to-back road spot where they go to Green Bay. I think they beat Green Bay.
I have a weird. Right now, I have them at 6-6. I think there's going to be a point in time in this season where they acquire a wide receiver. I think they lose enough games early that they realize they can't go to battle with this. They're going to have to acquire a wide receiver somewhere. Someone's available. Just look out.
But you have them beating or losing to Green Bay?
Beating. But remember, if you remember in the Green Bay episode, I told you it's a weird spot right there for Green Bay because Green Bay can run the ball and ball control them, keep them off the field in that weather. It's a weird spot.
You have them at 6-6 after that win?
Yeah.
Okay, I have them at 7-5. They then go back home December 10th where they host the Buffalo Bills.
Give me the Bills.
I'd like them to beat the Bills. They then Monday night travel to the New England Patriots.
It's a loss.
I think they beat the Patriots. Then a week later, Monday, December 25th, we talked about it, they host the Raiders. I think they sweep the Raiders.
They're beating the Raiders again.
Then Sunday, December 31st, 4:25, they host the Cincinnati Bengals. Absolute shootout of a game, I think.
I like the Bengals to win that.
I like the Chiefs to just rattle off some shit here at the end. And then they're at the Los Angeles Chargers, where I had them splitting, and the Chargers beat them the last game of the season.
I somehow have them at 7-10. And I just want to make this very clear. I don't think they're a 7-win team. I think they're bigger than that.
I do want to say something. I have them losing to the Chargers the last game. That means that last game of the year, they're both alive when they play, according to my breakdown. I have the Chargers 12-5 beating the Chiefs at the end, and I have the Chiefs 11-6 by losing to the Chargers at the end. And the Chargers finally take the division.
So I realize I just picked only 7 games for KC, but I don't know how I have the Broncos at 11 and Kansas City at 7. Those almost feel flipped to me.
What do you think the Chiefs over-under is?
Probably 11.5.
So even at 11-6, I have the under for them.
And what was the Broncos over-under?
8.5.
Yeah, I literally just need to swap those two. I'm telling you right now, I don't think Kansas City's a 7-win team. I picked them right here, just going off predictions. I just think that's a very tough schedule, and I have them losing a lot of their very good. A lot of the teams they're going to be matched up against, I don't think they're as good as. They have the quarterback advantage. I can sit here and tell you they have the coach and quarterback advantage, but they don't have a roster advantage over a lot of these people.
Well, I'll tell you what, the way it's shaped up is you have the Chargers at 12-5, winning the division. Broncos at 11-6 in second. Depending on divisional games, you have the Chiefs and Raiders both at 7-10.
I'm going to somehow move the Broncos. I'm going to put them at 9
and 8.
And I'm going to put
the Chiefs
KC
at 9 and 8.
At 9 and 8 too.
So
I truly believe that KC will win and lose a bunch of games this year. I don't think they're winning 11 and 12 games. I think they're more flawed than that.
Mine, I feel really good about mine. Chargers 12-5, Chiefs 11-6, Broncos 9 and 8, Raiders 5-12.
Yeah. I will say this. I confidently think the Chargers are winning this division finally. Finally. I will confidently say that.
I guess I didn't mention it, but the minus 180 to win the division, the Chargers are plus 300. The Broncos are plus 600, and the Raiders are plus 1,700.
There it is.
You want to go to the polls?
Let's go to the polls because we got some votes.
I'm going to straight up guess. I know we have Raiders fans, but Raiders fans oftentimes cripple their own team before others can.
Okay.
Self-handicap thing they've had going on for 2 decades.
So
I'm going to say 0 for the Raiders.
Okay, so we do have 21 total votes, which is less than yesterday's. 0 for the Raiders is your prediction?
Yeah.
You are correct. Who do you think's next?
Broncos under 4. I'd say 3 for the Broncos.
4, actually.
Ooh.
To be fair, I don't know one of these 4 people. The other 3 are all Broncos fans.
What are their names?
Just put them on blast right here on the pod.
Well, yeah, who's the guy?
Jamie Lado. Jamie Lado listens all the time. I know he's a Broncos fan. Okay. Brandon Davis. I'm not sure if he listens. He's a Broncos fan. Mike Hayes.
Yeah.
We've played poke with him. He's a Broncos fan. Chris Sundermeyer.
Yep, that's Casey's uncle. He's a Broncos fan.
Okay, so 4 Broncos fans.
I believe he's a Broncos fan.
Okay.
Could be wrong, but I think he is.
Next.
It's got to be the Chargers next. So if we have 17 votes left, I'll say 6 for the Chargers, 11 for the Chiefs.
10 and 7, 7 for the Chargers. So the Chiefs are getting 10 votes. Chiefs are getting 10 votes.
Can't be mad at that.
No, I'm looking at the people that voted. There's smart people in both pots. Not saying that Broncos fans aren't smart or Raiders. Just saying I'm looking at some of the people that voted. I respect some of their opinions. I mean, there's some smart people here. Yeah, I mean, people are saying the Chiefs are running it back. I don't see it.
Head coach, quarterback. I have McDaniels and Jimmy G in 4th.
Yeah.
Staley and Herbert in 3rd. Sean Payton, Russell Wilson in 2nd. Andy Reid, Mahomes in 1st. Me that wants to flip. I feel Herbert's better than Wilson, but I feel like Payton's better than Staley, so I don't know how to value that.
Well, here's how I'll value it.
Wilson's been to a couple Super Bowls, though.
Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Brandon Staley is a head coach, and I think Justin Herbert and Sean Payton are a wash. I'll agree. I think the Broncos are a leg up. I agree. I agree there. I think I agree with your whole list.
I feel real good about my order too, and my records. I kind of like how it ended up turning out.
I completely disagree. I think this is the worst pot I've done so far. I have no feel on this division.
I'm not gonna lie. When you said that the Chiefs' offense is borderline Colts, like that,
it is. It is. It is. It is, bro.
I hope you had a good chuckle with me laughing at you. No way.
Dude, I swear to God, not including tight end. If you swap the wide receivers, nobody would notice.
Yeah, swap the quarterback. Let's see who notices.
I said that in the pod.
So it factors in. You can't take out the 5th best player in football. You can't take out the 5th best player in football and then say the number 1 best player in football.
Timeout. If anybody is listening to this pod and thought that I meant that Patrick Mahomes sucks, I've already said that I've taken back what I've said on Patrick. I've come around on Patrick.
We're just saying that the Chiefs' O-line is elite. They have the best tight end in football and the best quarterback in football. Yes, they have B receivers.
But that's it.
So don't.
You say B receivers?
Yeah.
No, the Broncos have B receivers. The Chiefs do not have B receivers. They have C receivers.
So you're saying that? So
what?
Comparing receivers, not the entire offense.
That's all I was saying.
But you said the Chiefs' offense is almost the Colts.
Okay, I should have said skill players. My apologies. Because here's where I'm at. Jonathan Taylor's good and Travis Kelce's good, but the rest of the pieces suck for the Colts, and the rest of the pieces
one of them's at training camp and the other one's not. So.
Oh my gosh!
In
here with the haymakers. Bam.
Chiefs are leagues ahead of the Colts. What's funny about this whole thing is the Colts beat the Chiefs last year. That's kind of funny.
I know. The whole thing is this pod is going to get played on repeat when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again. They're just going to play me on repeat. They'll be like, Jeff, you're a fucking mockery of the league. Stop podcasting. Well, that's the second pod in 2 days, and that's all we do is drop pods. So, anything else for today?
Pods, actually.
That is the entire purpose of the pod, is to actually record and drop a pod. You're right. That is the purpose of the pod. AFC West is in the books. There's only 2 left. 2 divisions left, and then our, in my opinion, my favorite pod of the entire year is the bold predictions pod. So we're going to be putting out a mailbag for that one, where we're kind of going to ask you guys to ask us literally damn near anything about football season / ask us to make some predictions about some things we'd love to do. So very excited for the bold predictions pod. 2 more divisions. They're Brad and I's. We'll probably rock, paper, scissors over who's next and go from there. So anything else from you?
Nothing else from me.
All right, my man. I will see you next time. We're out. Real talk.
Later.